Guys, good morning. It's me for Monday, March the 20th, 2017. A brand new video vlog. Now, this is the first time I'm doing a video vlog. And all is posted to YouTube. So, basically, here we go with today's video. The U.S. Air Force's cargo transport planes of the 1950s and 60s. Excuse me. The U.S. Air Force had numerous transport aircraft prior to after the end of World War II. You had the C-47 Skytrain, the C-54 Skymaster, the C-69 Constellation, the Lockheed Lodestar, and the Curtiss C-46 Commando. All served throughout World War II. Now, by the late 40s, you had aircraft from the C-47 and including new aircraft such as the Douglas C-74 Globemaster, and then the C-119 Flying Boxcar would be just a few. The C-54 was also in use, and the C-118 Lifemaster and others. Towards the end of the Korean War, you had the C-133 Cargo Master and the C-124 Globemaster. And it all makes sense, And then in 1952, Lockheed Martin and the U.S. Air Force had agreed on a 4-engine, long-range cargo transport plane for in-flight refueling and to deliver troops and their equipment anywhere, anytime, within 48 hours. And it was in 1952, in Marietta, Georgia, Lockheed Martin developed the C-130 Hercules, beginning in 1951. Well, actually, it started in 1950, and the prototype started to take shape towards the end of 1951. The first prototype was to make its maiden flight in 1952. The first of the C-130s were delivered to the U.S. Air Force's Military Airlift Wing in 1955. Now, the Lifemaster and the C-124 were to serve very long, but the C-124 was plagued with problems. And one incident in particular, in December of 1956, a U.S. Air Force C-124 departed from Moss Lake in Washington State on its way to Texas. It was never to make it to its final destination. It crashed, killing everybody on board. And it was one of the worst accidents ever. It was a video that was posted by Ryan Kirkpatrick, and you can see that video on YouTube. And the C-124 had a long service life, but it wouldn't last up until the early 1970s, and all C-124 Globemasters were withdrawn and were replaced by the C-5 Galaxy. And moving into the 1960s, you had two early versions of the C-130 Hercules in operations, and by 1962, the C-130E was to be the next variant of the Hercules, and you was to have the first all-jet transport aircraft for the U.S. Air Force. The C-141 Starlifter began in 1961, and the first examples of the C-141 Starlifter was delivered to the U.S. Air Force in 1962. And it wasn't to be that long until the Vietnam War. You had planes ranging from the C-124, the C-133, the C-130, and the C-141 heading to Southeast Asia to bring troops and weapons to South Vietnam to help South Vietnam fight the Communist North. And the C-124 was a bit short in size, but a later example by 1978 you had the C-141B, and that would serve from 1978 until 2005. And the C-5 Galaxy, which was an idea originally began in 1964 after the U.S. Air Force, Lockheed Martin, Boeing had competed for a 4-engine long-range commercial airliner, and the first of these was the CXL, and the CXL was never to go ahead. The aircraft that was to go ahead, and it was okay by one trip, Pan American Airways, the Boeing 747. And the first of the 747s took shape and was rolled out in 1968, and by the winter of 1969, the very first 747 made its maiden flight. Back to it, the U.S. Air Force began to do away with most of their old transport planes that included the Lifemaster and the Skymaster and the C-133. Most of them were sent to Davis Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, where the planes were broken up and turned into aluminum ingots. And that is it on the U.S. Air Force's military transport aircraft of the 1950s and 60s. I hope you like this video. Please, like always, please check out my videos. And like always, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you around.